All right, welcome back into Cleveland Browns Daily. Joined now here on location with Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network, and here we go. A year goes by quickly, and we're back at the conference.
I mean, it's like 2 weeks ago we were here, right? Just
That's
in the
right.
world.
Every year you get here and you land and you say, boy, what are the things everyone's talking about? 9 times out of 10 it's quarterback, and it feels like that's the case again this year at the top, obviously.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely, and it's an interesting year because we don't have a Burrow or we don't have a Trevor Lawrence where it's all locked in and you know who that first guy is going to be, and you've got a lot of names. So, and I don't know if I can remember a time. You guys tell me if you can think of one where we've got two divisions. Like, it's almost like the NFC South and the AFC South. They all need quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the Browns are the reason why one of them needed a quarterback.
Yeah.
But that's so you have the intrigue of a team at 2 and a team at 4 who both need a quarterback. They could both trade up to 1, and it's like a 2-for-1 special. Not only do I get a quarterback, I keep him from a team inside my division who needs one.
Yeah, and if you were the Houston Texans, you just could have lost in the last game of the season, and we wouldn't be dealing with any of this. Which is,
I want to go to the Lovie Smith draft party.
It's got to be
It's
amazing.
being held in Chicago.
It
I
is.
promise you that.
That's a great call. That's a great call.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
That's the
big
easiest marketing money he'll ever make.
Oh, my goodness. It was all right there. We need a 30 for 30 on this
Yes.
someday. So you look at the top of the draft, the Bears, now it's come out, they're going to be trading that pick.
Yeah.
Just you as an evaluator, how would you have rated Justin Fields versus maybe Bryce Young or another option in this draft?
Yeah, I would have it Bryce in terms of the grade coming out, and then Fields,
Okay.
and then the rest of this group. But then I get asked the follow-up question inevitably, which is, okay, well, if you're Chicago and you have a higher grade on Bryce Young, then wouldn't you just take Bryce Young and trade Justin Fields? I don't like the fit for Bryce Young in Chicago. So that's just, I don't think with his size, I don't think he works there in that division, in that home environment. I don't think it's conducive to a smaller quarterback. And it goes back to my time in your division. You know, having scouted in that division, we wanted bigger physical quarterbacks because you're playing in weather, you're playing in elements, you're playing in a physical division. Like, you just needed a bigger guy. I think in the AFC South, where you're playing indoors in Indy, you're playing indoor in Houston, I just think it makes more sense with his only limitation that he really has is that size. I think it plays better indoors.
By the way, thanks with your other job, you took 6'6" Justin Herbert and just kept him in a dome in California instead of bringing him to the AFC North for us.
I had a lot to do with that draft, by the way, with the Chargers.
It reminds me a little bit of the Kyler draft in that we were all here waiting to see, well, how tall is he going to be?
Yeah.
What's the size? There's no issue with Young in terms of all the rest of it. It's just that one thing.
That's it.
Is there a number there that becomes too much to overcome for him or not?
I think he's going to be fine. I think he's going to come in at 200 pounds, right around 200 pounds, and then you're going to be able to look on paper and you're going to be able to find some other quarterbacks that have been 207, 204, 209.
Sure.
You're like, okay, there's something out there for a comp. You don't want to come in here and be 182 pounds, and then you're like, they got nothing to compare this to, even if he's 5'11" and change or whatever he's going to be.
All right, let's talk about from a Browns perspective.
Yeah.
We do not have a first-round pick, as you mentioned earlier. We got Deshaun Watson
weird
from
is
the
that,
Houston
by the way?
Texans.
Yeah.
It is odd. It is odd, but we're going to have to make some hay here in the second round. Edge, wide receiver. Let's start with the wide receiver position. This is a team that desperately needs some speed at that spot. Are there any guys you like that maybe could be there in that second-round area?
Tyler Scott's an interesting one from Cincinnati. He can really go as a vertical receiver. I think Jalen Hyatt's going to be gone. I think Johnston from TCU is going to be gone. But he can run, and so that gives you a big-time speed option to get down the field. And then, there's other guys that maybe aren't just true blazers, but are fast players that can play. In like Marvin Mims from Oklahoma, he might get him in the 3rd or 4th round. But he's going to probably run in the low 4.4s. But he's a good player, and you see him get vertical. You see him get over the top.
When you think about the strength in this draft, Nathan mentioned we need, obviously, defensive line, receiver speed. How does it line up with the depth of talent at those positions in this draft?
Well, I mean, I think when you look at the depth positions in this draft, on offense, the two that are the deepest are tight end and running back. Yep. So, I don't think those are right at the top of the list. Yeah. And then you look on the defensive side of the ball, edge rusher is a really good group of edge rushers. And corner. So those are the two deep positions. Then, I think the wide receiver group is down compared to what it's been the last few years. The linebacker group's just okay. And the safety group's not great. So those are kind of the strengths and weaknesses overall.
So at 42 overall, you think a quality edge
There'll be a good one.
Be on the board.
There'll be a good one there. I think I have 10 in my top 50. So
okay.
I love the kid from Kansas State. gosh, Anudike Uzama, I believe is the last name here. I've got a lot of names floating around.
Yeah, you do.
But he's a really good player. So that would be one I would keep an eye on. I think Will McDonald's probably going to run his way out into the middle part of the first round with what he does here this week.
That's certainly something. When you think of the Browns in totality, and you look at this offseason and the news of John Johnson and what's coming there, and it does feel like for us that there is a tremendous amount of pressure to now we got to go win.
Yeah.
Everybody's in the prime, our best players in the prime, a full offseason for Deshaun. As you look at the roster juxtaposed to what is in Kansas City and Cincinnati and Buffalo, what do you see? How close is it from your perspective?
Yeah, I think they need some more dynamic players up front on defense, just to add with Miles. And I think, look, I'm a Jim Schwartz fan. I've known Schwartzy forever, so I think he's going to do a good job of maximizing that group. They're going to play an attacking front. They're going to get up the field and get after it. So I think he needs a couple more tools to work with there. But I think once you do that, you can go, with their top, if you want to look at kind of that blue chip group of their top 8 guys and put them up with everybody else in the AFC, I think they stack up quite well.
The Browns have been very kind of strict in their age guardrails. It feels like there are more prospects in the top 50, top 100 this year because of COVID that are older. For a team, kind of what you were talking about, do you think this is maybe a year? It's okay to draft a 23-year-old in the second round because I think we need our second-round pick to play this year.
I'm fine with it. I always try and look at it as thinking one contract at a time. If I get somebody that can come in here and give me 4 years of really, really good football, that's good. That's a good pick.
Yeah.
Give me 4 great years, and if we don't get a second contract on him, that's fine. He'll go sign somewhere else, and we'll get a comp pick and move on. But I think you got to be in the business of getting good football players, and if you start weeding out the guys, because of COVID for the next few years, we're going to see some more older players coming in with this extra year that they've been granted. So I wouldn't want to disqualify myself from taking one of those guys.
We talked about Bryce Young off the top. Let's talk about the other quarterbacks that could be in the mix here. Stroud, Levis, those guys. Who do you like? A lot of Richardson buzz coming into this week. What do you make of those guys as prospects?
Yeah, to me, Stroud's the second best guy. I think I just trust him the most in terms of the accuracy and the decision-making. Charles Davis, what a handsome man.
Look at that
guy.
Punt him. Unbelievable.
He's
what a guy. Legend.
That's the one that I trust. Now, there's some other, he's not a perfect player. None of these guys are, and there's stuff you want to see him continue to grow and get better at. But I've seen him get better throughout his time. Every time you watched him, I thought there was progress that was being made. I thought even just arm strength from last year to this year, I thought his arm was stronger. And then the questions about when you move him around and then he loses some accuracy, then he goes out and does what he did in the playoff game, which helps alleviate that. So it's that old scouting adage: if you can do it once, you can do it. So I know it's in there. I know he's got it. So. That to me makes him number 2. Levis has got an unbelievable amount of ability. Was better last year than this year for a whole host of different reasons you got to dig into while you're down here. But that would be the next one, and then Richardson's is the boomer bust.
Right.
It is the highest ceiling and the lowest floor. Yeah. So if you're feeling frisky, go for it.
Well, that'd be a team maybe that has like a Detroit, for example.
That's what I said, and the Lions fans are so mad at me. We would never do that. We have Jared Goff, and I'm like, no, Jared's a really good player. This guy has so much more in his body. Like, there is a much higher ceiling here. Yeah. And, oh, by the way, the cost is nothing.
Well, right. You have the free pick.
You're going to have to pay. Goff's already making a decent amount of money, and his contract comes. You're going to pay him a lot of money. Yeah. There's no such thing as a middle-tier quarterback contract.
Right. And go back a few years ago. The Chiefs were going to the playoffs. Alex Smith, certainly a fine quarterback.
And I'm sure if we went back at that time, there'd be a lot of Chiefs fans going, "What are we doing? We got Alex Smith."
I think it's worked out pretty well for them. We're not saying this is going to happen, but we'll see there. You mentioned Stroud, one of the guys he throws the ball to, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Are people sleeping on him a little bit? I know people say this receiver draft isn't top-heavy enough, but when you can separate and think about the guys, as you've talked many times, Olave and Wilson were there, and he was the best of that bunch.
Yeah. Out of the slot, he operated.
Yeah, what do you think about him?
Well, that's part of the deal. He's in the slot. They're drawing the number 1 and number 2 corners on the outside, and he was beating the living tar out of the number 3 corner in the slot. So the question, the knock is can he really run? One of the things is, he didn't come back this year. Is that he's been really training, trying to get a little bit faster. That's the only knock on him is just a pure speed. I think he's going to be a high volume guy. I think he's going to catch 80+ balls a year. I don't think he's in the class of those other 2 guys at Ohio State as much as they like to give him that title as the best of the bunch. I didn't think it was close just in terms of how explosive Garrett Wilson was and how explosive Chris Olave was versus a really good Amon-Ra St. Brown type player that's going to play in the slot and Amon-Ra's a Pro Bowl player. He's going to catch 100 balls. I think he's a volume guy. I don't think he's going to be a 16, 17 yards per catch type player.
You bring up Jackson. I'm curious just from when you talk to the league, and one of the things that you always get the gripe of with those kids when they don't play in the semifinal or something like that, because a lot of people thought that he probably could have, was healthy enough to play in that game, didn't. How much do NFL teams care about that?
Well, I think you'll ask questions and do digging, and maybe even get some people that try and push and nudge in the conversation with him, and then at the end of the day, you're like, is he better than the other guy? Okay, what are we doing?
We're fine with that.
We're fine.
There's that disconnect, though. I think college people want, and I think fans sometimes like, oh, he doesn't have the heart, he doesn't have all of that. And it's like, well, can he play? Yeah, then we're fine.
Yeah.
What do you make of as somebody who covers this and also covers the league in your job with the Chargers? Of how guys come here. It's like Malik Willis from a year ago.
Yeah.
Okay, if you had just somebody who only existed for that week and watched that coverage when he's throwing the ball 1,000 yards, and he's going to be a first-round pick, and then everybody in the league, he goes in the third round.
Yeah.
How do we kind of reconcile combine talk, combine buzz, and the reality of what NFL teams think about players?
Yeah, it's a sliver of the process, and I think it's not. I think that the disconnect is people that rip on the combine and hate the combine. That's the underwear Olympics. It holds no value. I'm like, no, it holds value,
no doubt.
And then there's people that think that it should be the be all end all. Well, if he didn't do this at the combine, then we can't take him here. I'm like, no. It's individual part of the process. It's no more than 10-15% of the evaluation, but it can be valuable. And to me, I don't look at the combine in terms of I'm gonna be able to rank these guys 1 to 50 or 1 to 200. I look at it and say, you know what? I have the same grade on these 3 corners. They're all 6 foot. They're all 200 pounds. Let's go out there and watch these guys work out.
Watch them move.
Who's fluid? Who's a little bit tight? Who can't catch? Different things like that. And say, okay, well, that might be enough to nudge one guy over the other guy when you're looking at 3 third-round corners. That's what the value is.
Let's look into the crystal ball a little bit by the time we're done with all of this. Give us a name of somebody who you think by the end of this week we're going to be talking about.
Oh, Adebaware is a defensive tackle from Northwestern. He's 6'2". He's got 34-inch arms. He's kind of one of those unique body types of an interior player because he's got leverage and length. So those guys are hard to block inside, and he's going to test like a freak. We'll see. I was told there could be like some Aaron Donald type testing numbers with him. So that's one to keep an eye on.
Is that one of the fun things when you kind of get this, we're going to see this guy's going to do this and that to see if they actually can go out and do it?
Christian Gonzalez, the corner from Oregon, is supposed to run low 4.3s, jump 40 inches. Keely Ringo is going to do the same type of a thing. I think the A&M running back's a little nicked up, so we won't get to see him out here, but he was supposed to run the 4.2s. So that's fun. The Georgia Tech kid, Keon White, edge rusher, is going to be over 280 pounds. He's going to run the 4.6s. Like, jeez, it's stupid.
It's fun.
It's stupid.
Which, by the way, I always say, like, what's your favorite part of the combine? Like, who doesn't want to watch guys run fast? Like, Mekhi Becton and Jordan Davis, these big monsters out here rolling. It's fun.
It is. Always fun when we get to have you, sir.
I appreciate you guys. Great to see you. Sweet sweatshirt, by the way. I get one of those.
Oh.
Well, there's 3 of them on a short list.
You're on a short,
on a short list.
I love it.
Legit.
Daniel Jeremiah, NFL Network, joining us here. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.